Welcome to the family with
Mike Gelfand
and Andy Bernard.
Hey, had a great time on the first show, the morning show. It's not actually a morning show. I suppose it's on in the morning, but it's not a morning show. It's a podcast. Had a great time on there. KP Anderson was in town, or is in town, I should say. He's at Acme tonight, 7 o'clock. Tomorrow night, tonight at 8 o'clock, I think it is. And then, anyway, call there because 7 and 9:30 tomorrow and Saturday. So that's that deal. But it's great to see old friends like that. Joe, of course, his brother was a K fan for a long time. Got to know Joe really well. Great guy. And that's how I met KP. But yeah, I worked with these, Joel McHale. That was a very, very successful show.
Oh, yeah.
The Soup.
The Soup. We used to watch it all the time.
It was a great show. No question about it. So we were just talking about, and I did not know this, but I'm glad you were talking about it. So the first three players to go in the NBA draft, all white people?
Yeah, two of them were from France. So,
From France.
So not that there aren't black people in France. There
are.
But they happen to be white guys, 19-year-old white guys from France. They're like the prototypical NBA top choice now.
So do you think that's because Europe's ahead of us or behind us? Which one is it?
No, I'd say they at least have, they're on a level with U.S. players, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, and the European players, like, the typical European player who gets drafted very high he's a 19-year-old guy from France, but also these guys, they're like, 6'10", 7 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as anything, they want to shoot the threes.
They do. You're right.
we think of a guy that size as a guy who just, like Edie from Purdue. They just hang out right under the rim, right?
Right.
And they can shoot, say, maybe as far away as 4 feet.
Mm-hmm.
These guys can shoot from 34 feet away.
Now, I want both of your take on this, both Mike and Andy, your take on this one, because the Minnesota Timberwolves made a trade, and they traded for. They gave up the rights to whoever the player is now in the 8th grade. It's like the 2031 draft.
I'll say this about the Timberwolves. Their whole thing is now.
Yeah, that's true.
Because this team's going to be crap eventually because they've given away so much.
Yeah, they have
so many draft choices and everything else. So it's all about winning right now. And for Connolly, the general manager, it's good strategy because if they're not winning within 3-4 years, he's gone anyway.
Yeah.
So there's no incentive to think about the future.
It's amazing though. The kid is that 31 draft choice they traded is in 8th grade right now.
Is there an age limit for the NBA? Like a minimum age? I would assume.
Probably. I would guess.
It sounds like it should be illegal, like child slaving or something.
All drafted players must be at least 19 years old.
That's what I thought. Yeah, 19. That makes sense.
So they can draft him at 19, but
right.
Yeah, well, that's pretty weird.
Also, you must be at least 1 year removed from graduation of high school.
Oh, 1 year removed, really?
So you have to have graduated at least a year ago.
Well, that makes sense. Because most people do graduate at 17 or 18, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody graduates.
Yeah.
that's
These days,
true.
you're going to graduate.
It's impossible not to.
That is very, very true. No question about that. So I just, I don't know. We'll keep an eye on it. The Twins won last night. I didn't get the chance to watch the game because they're hooking up the TVs right now at the new house. So I haven't watched television in a week.
How's it going?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me in the least.
You're not trembling, shaking.
Well, see, I already decided a while back that I just cannot watch Fox or CNN. They're just way too far to the left and way too far to the right. And it's like, is there one place you can turn where it's right down the middle and everybody gets treated the same?
Well, I mean, you could watch C-SPAN, but it wouldn't be very interesting.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Local news doesn't really do that anywhere near as much. The one thing about the local news now is the ads, though. They're all political, so you still get annoyed by watching the local news.
Yeah, we've reached that point.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, and of course it's debate night tonight.
Tonight's tonight.
So that used to officially be the beginning of the political hate season, but now it's every day.
Every day.
Yeah, all day, every year.
it's going to be, it's on CNN, and I think Jake Tapper and whomever is going to be the host of it all. So, I mean, they can't help but lean one way or the other because that's what they do. I mean, Fox and CNN are battling it out on a daily basis, and I can't watch either one of them because I literally, at this point in my life, Michael, I cannot take any more of the edges. I just can't stand them. Those people are vicious and hateful. I have moved dead center. I like Democrats, I like Republicans, but those far left, far right people are not for me.
Well, we never talk much about this. Andy probably knows more about it than we do because he's more in tune with what's happening on the internet. But the bots play a big role in this hatred.
Yeah, oh
Yes,
yeah,
they do.
They come from China. They come from Russia, and they don't. I don't think they appear to be promoting Trump, but I think it's bigger than that. I think what they're really promoting is hatred in America. They want all of us to hate each other.
Yes, they do.
And
we're falling for it.
We're falling for it. Of course we are.
Yep.
Yeah. And it used to be that as Americans, we united to fight fascism, going back, certainly the World War II was the apex of that. But now we hate each other. We don't hate fascism.
No.
And so what's happening is the fascists are moving in because we think the biggest problem in America is each other.
Yeah, we do. Do you think that AI or the internet in general was a really bad thing for humanity?
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think we can't handle it. We abuse it. We use it.
It's the end of creativity.
No question.
And no
about
civilization can thrive without creativity.
I agree. So what's going to happen? We all just going to perish?
Maybe as we know it.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. I mean, if Hitler was in power today, I think half the country would be all for him.
I wouldn't doubt it. I don't know. The whole thing is, it's very unsettling to just say, well, as you know, I've been screwed with politically by people, whether it's voiceover or radio shows or whatever it is. It was all political.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with success. We had tons of success. It was wonderful, but things got political. So I apparently was the bad guy. And the way they go after some people now, it's like, who the hell do you think you are? What have you ever contributed?
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me. I wish it would stop.
I saw that I had a fairly brief voiceover career, but there were about 5 or 6 years when things were good,
Yes.
And then where did it all go? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It just it changes from generation to generation. I don't know what to tell you. Well, let me read something to you. And Andy, you could now you're what, millennial, Andy?
Yes, I am oldish millennial.
So Gen Z would be the one right after you.
Right.
Okay. This is right from the news, national news, ladies and gentlemen. Gen Z workers think being 5 to 10 minutes late is being on time.
I mean, in my experience, that's all workers.
Well, this is that business, though. That's a wholly different business there.
Well, when I worked for 5 weeks on the Minneapolis Star copy desk, we had to be there, I think, at like 6:30 in the morning. And I definitely, 5 or 10 minutes late, to me, was definitely being on time.
That was because it was so early in the morning?
Because those hours did not suit me, as you can probably understand.
Well, I can definitely understand, because KP brought up the fact, he said, Tom, 37 years over at the Q, wonderful, all the greats, but how the hell did you get up at 3:30 in the morning for 37 years? I still wake up every night at 3:30. I can go back to sleep, but I still wake up with no alarm, nothing. At 3:30, I'm going to wake up. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird how your brain just gets locked in on that kind of thing?
Oh, yeah. 5 weeks, I was never on time. I was always the last one there. Every single day, I was the last one there. And they look up at me like, where have you been? And I'd say, I'm 3 minutes late, for God's sake.
Where have you been?
These stories will wait for me.
Yeah, you would think.
6:30 in the morning? Yeah, I mean, they'll wait.
Why do you think it is that the newspaper business kind of followed that lead? Is there a middling newspaper out there anywhere in America? I mean, is there somebody right in the middle?
Well,
or is that not interesting?
there's a lot of newspapers that aren't good enough to be on either side
Yeah, I
or in the
suppose, yeah.
middle because
Yeah.
they're really not even newspapers anymore because they're owned by hedge funds.
Yeah.
And they've got, like, in a city like, say, Cincinnati, they probably got like 8 reporters.
Really?
They probably had 50 at one time.
Yeah,
Now they got
absolutely.
8.
But I mean, I was always amazed by that. Why is there not a centrist newspaper? Because I would buy that in a minute.
Yeah, I guess newspapers have always been designed
Mhm.
to have an editorial page,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
and that's always been a part of it. And it was great, because you could go to different papers, and you could have an afternoon paper and a morning paper, and the morning paper might be on the left, the afternoon might be on the right.
Mhm.
Certainly, that was the case in Chicago.
Yeah, it was in Chicago. Yeah,
Great
you're right. You're
papers in
absolutely right.
Chicago, and the Chicago Tribune was, they were on the right, and the Sun Times was more on the left,
Mhm.
and it was great. But 2 newspapers in any city now, pretty rare. I mean, look at New York.
Yeah.
New York had like because when you were living in New York, there were probably 8 newspapers.
There
in
were a
New York.
lot of newspapers. That's true.
And you'd walk by a newsstand and say, "Oh, yeah, this is great. I'm going to get the New York Post." And then like 10 minutes later, "Oh, the New York Times is out now." And for me, being a newspaper junkie, I couldn't resist anything.
No, I understand. I do understand that. Yeah, the Post and the Times still go after each other, don't they?
Yeah, but I mean, it's not a fair fight. The Post is there just like the Daily News was. I don't know if they
Mhm.
exist anymore. Totally, just there for propaganda. That's all.
That's it.
They didn't, the Times has like 1,000 journalists, and those papers,
Yeah.
they might have 20. I don't know.
No, it's true. I really wish that somebody would step up and have the balls to be centrist, because I think a lot of people are being pushed that way.
They definitely are. They're being pushed that way every day, and I don't see that where there's going to be any reprieve at all.
No, it really doesn't. Is it a good thing that they're being pushed toward the center, being maybe more understanding of both sides?
I'd like to think so, but I mean, if you had that attitude, it's good, it's fine. I mean, I'm on the left, but at the same time, I'm not saying that everybody. I mean, I have friends who used to be Republicans, at least.
Mhm.
Now they would call themselves conservatives, but they wouldn't call themselves Republicans.
No, that's true. Are there any Democrats or Republicans left? Is the left and the right, and that's it?
I think that, well, the one thing is that the leftists, there are many different kinds of leftists now. And like in
Yeah.
Congress, you've got the far leftists. They call themselves progressives, but they're not progressives. They're just far left dudes.
Mhm.
And, one of whom, there's only like 5 or 6 that are like in that, I guess, in that category. But now one of them, Bowman in New York, he just lost the primary because he
Yeah,
was
he
too
did.
far to the left.
He
And
was way left.
yeah, but it's not just the left. The guy he was nuts.
He was crazy.
Yeah, and just a bad guy.
Jamal Bowman.
Yeah, so
Hey.
he's gone, and a lot of the people who were number of people who were endorsed by Trump lost too. So
Mhm.
it's maybe that's a sign that people are getting a little bit tired of the wackos.
I am. I'm sick to death of them. I mean, look, I got nothing against you vote for who you want to vote for, but do you think it's normal to have Biden and Trump running against one another? I mean, what happened?
Yeah, this should never happen again.
No.
And we always knew that seniority was going to be a thing in Congress because
Yeah.
like in the Senate, the head of every big committee was generally speaking about 90 years old.
Yeah.
It's just like if you can survive at the age of 90, then you get all the power, and that's a bad system clearly. And we need we need to have some kind of sensible term limits.
I think that's absolutely true. The president has 2 terms, and that's all you get. And I think everybody should have 2 terms, and that's all you get. I mean, some of these people are around forever.
And now we got 2 guys who had been presidents running against each other. And I never talked to anyone. I've never talked to anyone who said, it's great that we have 2 guys who are in their 80s running for president.
Nobody says that. You're absolutely right. Andy, you're 38 years old.
Just
about to be. So what's your view of this whole thing? I mean, do you think are things looking better in your age group, or it's same old, same old?
Certain things seem to be improving slightly, but overall, it's still heading in a not good direction.
What are we going to do? Is there anything from both of you? Is there anything we can do to kind of turn this thing toward the center and just calm down?
Nope, just gotta wait.
It's too much money to be made by being extreme.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I guess if we could just flip the Supreme Court, we might not have guys who are allowing their radical political views to smear the decency of the country. I mean, this whole Citizens United thing, it's all justices who've been groomed
Mm-hmm.
to do exactly that, to let all the money in. That's how they're groomed. And,
Yeah.
And the Federalist Society has basically kidnapped a big part of the Supreme Court.
But I mean, has the Supreme Court ever been fair and straight ahead?
Used to be that presidents tried in many cases to pick someone who would be acceptable to both sides. That was just a normal thing.
Oh, I don't remember that at all.
Well, it was there. And recently it was there, but not anymore.
We were just talking about, by coincidence, talking about the Supreme Court, because I asked our guests today, if they'd ever been in the White House, because you wander around the White House, you get this really weird feeling. Andy, you've been in the White House.
Yeah, a while ago.
Yeah, a while ago, you and Alex and Mom and I went to the White House, and just wandering around, and you look in the Oval Office and you go, my God, how many couple of hundred years of leaders were sitting in that, all the rest of it. But then the Supreme Court, you walk in there, and I pointed this out. So you got the 8 seats of the Supreme Court. You got these two. I got to get over in the right spot here. I got to move this hand over this way. There we go. And this hand can go that way. So your Supreme Court, you got 2 seats here. You got 2 seats here. You got 2 seats here. And you get to the middle, you have 1 seat here and 1 seat here. Because Ruth Bader Ginsburg was so small, they had to give her this gigantic chair. I'll never forget. Remember that, Andy?
Let's see. How tall was she?
Of course, she got a lot shorter.
Yeah, she
Well,
did.
yes, that does happen.
That does happen.
She was 5'1".
I think that's a lie. I think it's about 4'10".
Think not even.
I think not even. But, that's a trip that everyone should maybe make, just for the feeling of what went on in those rooms. My God.
Yeah. And think about the White House, and just think about all the things that went on there, and the ghosts circling around that room.
No, that's what they say. Yeah.
There was FDR hiding his wheelchair from everyone.
Exactly.
And then heading off to one of the rooms to have sex with his secretary.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably still some of I would guess there's probably some still DNA left in there. Poor Lewinsky probably would tell you that.
Yeah, Lewinsky probably would. No question.
Who knows what went on there? What was JFK doing all that time?
That was mostly in the swimming pool.
Yeah, he loved the swimming pool. He also loved, staying in the mafia cabanas in Las Vegas.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Well, his father was involved with the mafia.
Well, I guess so was JFK,
and so was JFK.
Not in an
absolutely.
active way, but
right.
He had been seduced by them.
There's no doubt about that. And that's, matter of fact, as a little boy at 9 years old, is what turned me against the presidency. I have not cared for the presidency since I found out at 9 years old that the Kennedy family was in the mafia. I mean, I shouldn't say maybe in the mafia, but they were involved with the mafia.
Yeah.
No question about
yeah.
it. And it just ruined it for me for the rest of time. It's like both these sides are in it for the money. It's always about the money.
Well, there's not a lot of purity.
No.
It's probably, the most pure president was probably Jimmy Carter, and everybody hated him.
And everybody hated the guy. A very nice man, actually.
Yeah, and he did some good things too. He wasn't all bad by any means.
Oh, they call him the most failed president of all time. They do. That's what they call him.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I guess it depends how you define failed,
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, if you create a war in which millions of people are killed so you can get reelected or elected in the first place, I mean, that seems to me to be pretty bad.
That's pretty horrible.
Yeah.
I would have to agree with you on that one. All right, let's move to other topics because it gets just so depressing to talk about the political situation in the world, not just in the United States. The world
Mm.
political arena is not pleasant.
Well, we're kind of reaching some kind of boiling point tonight, you know.
Yeah, that thing tonight, that debate tonight's going to be horrible.
It's
I
going to
can
be
guarantee.
interesting because, you know, they're going to be turning mics off, and
Good move.
it's going to be fun to see that.
There, I think it's a good move.
Yeah.
But that's a situation. It's on CNN. It's hosted by Jake Tapper and another person from CNN.
I think other networks are carrying it though, aren't they?
I would have assumed they would.
Yeah. So it's not, but you're right. It's produced, and
Yeah.
the CNN talent is there.
Yeah. So we'll see how the whole thing goes. But they are going to mute mics so
Yeah.
you can't interrupt. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Why did they never do that before? I don't think they've ever done that before. have
Great
they?
question.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's because the formal debate, you know, it's not about cutting people off. It's about you have your 5 minutes, and then there's your rebuttal, and then you make your point, and then there's the rebuttal, and so forth.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, it was assumed. It's like, you know, I don't know what a good analogy is. It's like, you know, why don't they have special things in place so that football players can't own goal? It's like you never expect them to. So why would you need to stop them?
Right.
Yeah. Well, like we're a long ways from Lincoln Douglas. Let's face it.
Yeah, it's been a while. No question
Now
about
it's
it.
more like stinking not us.
Let's see. New York Times is going to be streaming it. CNN is going to broadcast it, and that appears to be it.
Oh, they're not going to carry it on any other?
No, it's going to be simulcast on Fox, ABC, and
That would make
NBC.
Okay, yeah.
So
that would-
basically,
that
every
makes-
every major news thingy.
Now, wouldn't you think people like Newsmax would want to carry that because it would draw a lot of attention to them?
I'm sure they will if they can.
Oh, yeah, I
It's-
suppose they assign that, don't they?
Yeah, I don't. CNN is sharing the feed with other news networks.
All right.
So they're like, if you don't have the authority to stream it, you're not allowed to stream it. I don't believe.
I think you're probably right about that because it's their property.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will be, certainly like me, they're going to say, well, I need to watch this. You know, it's history in the making. I need to watch this. And then about 4 minutes later, oh, the Twins game is starting.
Hey, I'm not going to watch it. I just, because I know it's going to be very vicious. They're both going to look like fools because they're going to be so vicious. They're not my kind of people. And I qualify that again. And I mentioned it on the earlier show today that I've never met Joe Biden, but I've met Donald Trump. I had lunch with him one time, and he invited me to lunch when he was the president of the United States. And the thing I took away from that is he's nothing like that in person. Both of those characters, in my view, are all-star wrestling. They're characters that were created to draw attention, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. And it's like the WWE has had as much influence over current politics and sports as probably, a couple 150 years of history.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
They just cut through the whole thing and said, all right, everybody's a bastard now.
Yeah, just going to slam each other and call each other names and treat each other like dirt. And I just don't really understand it.
It will be nice that there won't be an audience.
They're all going to be reporters. The audience is going to be all reporters.
Right.
Yes.
So you won't have cheering and nobody's going to be able to, like there's all the audience has been politicized in recent years so that if let's say if the Republicans had their way, there would be a family of which one person was killed by an illegal immigrant.
Yes.
That sort of thing. And the Democrats, they would probably they would have a woman there who was forced to carry a dead baby to birth.
Right.
That kind of thing.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, they're not going to have that. So that's good. At least that's good. But anybody who thinks, they'll be discussing, their future plans, anybody who thinks they're going to talk about the ideas they have to make this a better country, that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. You're absolutely right about that. Because once again, this whole thing, just like everything else, is all about money. The whole thing's, it's money. I mean, these people become billionaires now because they were president. That was not supposed to happen.
At least the guys in the Supreme Court only get gifts from billionaires.
Yeah,
It's
gifts. Yeah.
they're not necessarily billionaires. Although they're on they're always on the talk circuit. They're always giving speeches somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess there's money to be made there.
Well, it's both parties that do it. There's no question about that. They just taken all the. I did love the fact that Menendez had a coat that was lined with gold bars. You're trying to hide your gold bars there, are you, Pally?
Yeah.
No, you're right. It's just so scummy. Ugh.
My coat is lined by flannel.
Flannel's good.
It's a little cheaper.
A little cheaper than gold, solid gold bricks.
Yeah.
I suppose you're probably right. So I don't know. I don't. Either one of you guys going to watch that debate tonight?
I am going to be probably asleep. What time is it?
Probably 8 o'clock.
I would guess 8 o'clock Central.
Yeah, I'm going to be going to sleep then.
Going to sleep with your boy.
Yep.
I suppose you're going to give it a view, Mike.
Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, I'll probably watch the first 7 minutes or so.
Yeah, that's enough.
And then I'll say, wait a minute, I got money on the Twins game. Or something like that.
Anything to get away.
Hey, the Twins, they got this rookie who's been called up to pitch today.
Yeah, that's what I understand.
I don't know. It could be an afternoon game. Is it an afternoon game?
Yeah, today's an afternoon game.
Yeah, because it's getaway day.
It's
so,
getaway day, yep.
So I'd probably watch a couple minutes of that, although I do have a dental appointment. So I guess I can, but the good thing is while they're drilling, I can be watching the game.
Do you have like 10 grand cash on you to pay for it?
I've got some Krugerrands.
You got
I'm just going to leave them at the front desk.
All of this medical stuff now, anything medical now is so incredibly expensive.
And it's really weird because dentistry is so important, as we all know.
Yeah.
You can have a heart attack because you got bad teeth. I mean, there are all sorts of things that can happen, and yet not part of Social Security.
Why?
Medicare doesn't cover it.
It doesn't. I know.
I have no idea why. Because I guess probably, well, I'm sure I know why. It's because the dentist didn't want it to.
That's exactly what it is, isn't it?
They can charge far more.
They can charge for,
or a little more anyway.
The one that punched me right in the gut was I was put on a sleep medication. It starts with a B. I can't remember the name of it. Whatever. So I went to pick it up, and it was not covered by insurance. Okay, or Medicare. $500 a month for sleeping pills.
Yeah. Well, Trazodone would be $3 a month.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You get a little Z sleep or whatever that stuff
but not
is.
Everyone, not everyone is good with Trazodone. Like for me, it's great. I take it.
Yep.
And if I'm not like totally stressed out about one of my kids, usually, then that's the thing that would get me peeved. But if everything's going right, if the family's going right, I take Trazodone, and about 7 minutes later, I'm asleep.
Good. I'm glad to hear. And what you can buy that at a Walgreens?
Well, it's not over the counter, but I think almost all doctors, if you went to a doctor and who knew anything and said, I've got insomnia, whatever, I'm pretty sure they would probably prescribe it.
It's funny that you put it that way, because we just went through something yesterday. And in my life, I've been scammed by people, try to help people out. If you think somebody needs help, run the other way.
Yeah.
You really, honest to God, because they're going to try to scam you out of money. It's just too bad.
No good deed goes unpunished.
That's exactly what it is. But I just,
yeah, I've been burned like that.
Oh, it just breaks your heart. But yesterday, Catherine wanted to have this couch delivered, and the guy asked to be paid cash when they got the couch to the house. So she had me go to the bank and get some cash so she could pay for it. And then he decided that he needed $100 cash up front just to make sure that she was on the level, that she really did want the couch.
What?
But not over the phone. It was on Messenger. Okay.
This doesn't sound good.
Well, the $100 is long gone, and he never showed up. The whole thing, over $100. It took the guy like 5 days of messaging on Messenger to make $100.
Have we learned nothing from Feed Our Future?
Yeah, come on. What the hell? 15, 16 million?
Go for the gusto.
Go for the big
Go
money.
big or go home.
I just, it just $100. This guy did all that work. So basically he was making about $10 an hour. That's what he was making.
Yeah.
You know, and I said, well, we all learned a lesson. Like I said, I've been scammed by people my whole damn life because I tried to help them out. The people that really do need help, point them in the right direction. Do not give anybody cash. It's a bad idea.
Yeah.
It just is. But I don't know. This whole thing just makes you so sad. Is there anybody that you can count on anymore?
Well, I think there are. I just think that number one, it might take a while to find them, and number two, don't tell anyone else about them.
No, I think a very good point. We're sitting yesterday, and I was paying some bills. I needed 4 stamps, and I didn't have any stamps. So Catherine said, well, I got some old Christmas stamps that I just use those. That'll be fine. And I put them all on there, and I thought, I wonder if these stamps, because they were 42-cent stamps.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I wonder if those are because they're a couple of years old, are they still valid?
All stamps are forever stamps now.
Not
I believe.
Not these Christmas ones weren't.
And not the ones that you bought. Yeah, that were not forever ones.
No,
No?
we're not. Yeah,
No.
they're not. So I did look it up, and it was not enough. 42-cent stamps are not enough. I think 55-cent stamps now are the rule. So I looked back. How much were stamps when I was a little boy?
3 cents.
3 or 4 cents.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So they're 16 times to 17 times more expensive than they were. 17 times more expensive.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? But I suppose look at cars. When I was a kid, a car was a couple $1,000.
Right.
Good luck trying to find a good car for $35,000 anymore. You can, but you're going to have to look.
Yeah.
Most cars now are about what, 40 grand, something like that. And
That's probably an average car, yeah.
40,000.
At least, yeah.
When I was a kid, it was $2 grand. Isn't that amazing? That's a big uptick.
I always look at the price of like sirloin steak.
Yeah,
I don't buy it,
yeah.
but I look at the price. So now it could be like $56 a pound.
Oh God.
And I'm thinking, God, I remember when it was like $28 a pound. Of course, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So
Why the uptick in 2 years?
part of it is gouging.
It is gouging. There's no doubt about that.
Part of it is just not being able to find anyone who wants to work at any of those jobs. The slaughterhouse, you know, it goes right up down the line because, and that's one reason why I keep saying, you know, we definitely need immigrants here. We don't need all immigrants. We don't need billions of them, but we need immigrants because they do jobs like that.
I understand it. You just got to make sure they're not murderers. That would be good.
Well, I mean, the numbers say one thing, but people say another, because it's always very easy to say. I mean, you can always find some case of an immigrant who killed someone. You can just like you can find 100 cases, 1,000 cases of someone who was born in this country who killed someone.
Mm-hmm.
The murder rate's it's not that bad. I mean, the murder rate is down. Yeah,
It depends on the city.
Well, it depends on the city, but typically it's down. But the other thing about murder rates is you know, they fluctuate.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times they have nothing to do with anything except maybe demographics, maybe the aging process. There's a lot of things that go into it.
But they're allowing a lot of very, very severe criminals in this country. They should not being allowed in. There's no question about that.
Well, if you allow, you know, 5 million people into the country, then some of them are going to be criminals for sure. I'd rather take my chance with them than 5,000 white guys from Tulsa.
Wait a minute, that's your hometown.
That's my dad's hometown.
What the hell?
I've been there, and that's why I say that.
I've never been to Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've been in Oklahoma, but never to Tulsa. Tulsa's bad.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it was the location of the biggest race riot in this country's history.
Oh, that's right, it was
1 year before my dad was born.
1 year.
So can you imagine how nicely my dad would have been treated? One of like 30 Jews in Tulsa.
Oh, why was he in Tulsa? I never did understand that.
I was, you know, my grandmother her father had some connection with the oil industry,
Oh, okay.
and so she winds up in Tulsa. And the thing is, Jews in Tulsa in the 1920s, 1930s, there weren't enough of them. They were just sort of an oddity.
Yeah.
So but also, of course, my dad, as he got older, he'd apply for jobs after he got out of college. He applied for jobs in newspapers, and people would say, we just don't hire people like you.
We don't hire people like you.
Yeah, that's what they'd say.
Okay, well, there you go.
Maybe they meant an acerbic Jew but probably not. Probably not.
Did you ever see our college system turning on Jews the way they have?
Well,
man, I never saw that coming.
There is, let's just say there is an element on the college campus that didn't used to be there.
Yeah, that's very true.
And college students, many of them are very easily swayed.
Yep.
And many of the ones who are shouting anti-Semitic tropes, they have no idea what's going on.
They have no clue what a Jew even is.
They've just forgotten.
No, you're right.
If you ask them, well, who started this war?
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably say, oh, it's the Zionists.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly what they're saying.
Yeah.
It was your fault.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not even close to being true. But
well, the whole thing, it goes back thousands of years. So eventually you do reach a boiling point when it goes back thousands of years.
But I mean, I just don't understand. At least you should know something about something before you take a position.
After all, it is a college campus.
Yeah, it's a college campus. It's there to learn.
Yeah, I would think so.
So why don't we learn about it? So are these professors supporting this bad behavior?
Well, there are some.
Yeah.
Very few of them would be tenured professors.
I would imagine that's true.
Yeah. They're probably maybe assistant professors and maybe just instructors who they can't look to the future and say, I'm going to be that guy who will be here forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not like that. Tenure is probably impossible for most of them.
I would imagine that's probably true. I was never a school kid in the first place. As you know, I never cared for school.
Yeah.
Because basically, well, back in my day, people were left behind. Now, apparently, you are going to fall back in line with the dumbest kid in class.
Well, I went to Groveland Park Elementary.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this was during the 50s. And there was, in those days, the teachers they were almost older women because the men had gone off to fight in the war and the women stayed, and the women were never going to be fired unless they got pregnant.
Oh, yeah, they couldn't
work there.
Yeah.
So they got older and older. And I think teachers, I would say there weren't a lot of firebrands who wanted to change the way things were taught.
Mm-hmm.
So I only say this because I was in 6th grade, and most of us were going to go on, I guess, to junior high school at Highland Park Elementary.
Yeah.
I never went to Highland Park Elementary. I didn't grow up in Highland Park, but I grew up close enough in the Groveland area. Anyway, so we're sitting there in the room, and the teacher is handing out promotion cards, meaning you get promoted to the 7th grade. Well, we thought that was funny. Promoted to where else would we go?
There's nowhere else to go.
So she's handing out these, and then she says, Jimmy, I will say the guy's name was Jimmy. Jimmy, I need to talk to you for a second. The teacher takes Jimmy into the cloakroom, and after about a minute, I hear Jimmy like wailing, and then his stocking cap comes flying out of the cloakroom. He always wore a stocking cap. And I turned to my friend Kent, much smarter than me. He always knew what was going on. And I said, Kent, what's going on? And he says, he's failing. He failed 6th grade. And I said, you can't fail 6th grade.
You can't.
They didn't teach us anything.
That's very, very true.
Yeah.
I remember in 1968, after the Martin Luther King assassination, or was that 67 or 68? I can never remember what year that was. And I don't know why.
Yeah, I was a senior in high school, so it could have been either. Yeah. I think it was 68, though. I could be wrong.
I don't know. Andy, will you look that up
us
quickly when Martin Luther King was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee? 67 or 68, but I can't remember.
68.
So it was 68.
Mhm.
Because I remember just after that happened, let's say about a month later, we went to class. I went North High School, so it was mixed race all the way, even all the way back in the 60s. And the instructor, a woman, a white woman, said, "We're going to do something today that I think is necessary." Again, this is 1968. And she said, "I'm going to call on all the black students, about half the kids in class, to tell us what they want to be called." So Eugene, as a black person or a Negro, she actually said at that time, in America, what would you like to be referred to as? And Eugene said, that Negro's fine. That's cool. And they went to every black kid. What do you want to be called? You want to be black? You want to be a Negro? You want to be whatever it is? They got to Charles, and Charles said, "I don't give a goddamn what you call me as long as it's not the big N." I will never forget that. But I thought that was so weird. Why is this teacher making the black students so uncomfortable in class?
Yeah.
Why would you want to do that?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. Made no sense to me.
Well, and of course now in colleges especially, students are asked what they want, how they want to be referred
Yeah, the
to.
pronouns
But
and
it's
all
about
that.
gender now.
It is about gender now.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care. I mean, you call me whatever the hell you want. I don't give a rat's ass about that kind of stuff. And it just, I think once the inner city expanded out into the suburbs and all the rest of America, it changed greatly, because now pretty wealthy suburbanites tried to change everything. Oh, now everywhere where this is going to be totally different. If you were a boy, you want to be a girl. As you know, one of my best friends was a boy that became a girl, or I suppose he was a man by that time, became a woman, all the way back. And I remember matter of fact, we had lunch at, what the hell is the name of that pizza place? It's now just a bar out there by
Broadway
Southdale.
pizzas.
No, it was out
That's
on
not
France
just a bar,
Avenue.
no.
Pizza Due.
Yeah, of course.
It was Pizza Due out there.
Yeah.
So he calls me and says, "Let's go have a little lunch because I want to tell you something." I said, "Okay." So I meet him there for lunch. And he sits down at the counter. Now, again, this is many, many, many years ago. He said, "I want to show you something." And I said, "Okay." So he takes out a picture, and it's him dressed as a woman. He goes, "You know who that is?" And I said, "Yeah, I know it's you." He goes, "Oh, how did you know that?" I said, "Because I've known you my whole life. That's why."
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, he got me one of my radio jobs at WDGY. That's, but I will never forget that he took the picture out and he said, "This is who I really am." I said, "What do you mean by that?" Because this is, again, many, many years ago.
Yeah.
So we were talking about this whole deal and that whole deal. He said, "Tom, I got to be honest with you." He said, "I was a little nervous about, sitting here and having this meeting with you." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because one of our friends said, 'Well, don't tell Tom because he'll kill you.'" Where that came from, I will never know.
Yeah.
Why that happened. I couldn't care. To this day, I don't care. I didn't care then. You be who you want to be.
Yeah.
Like I said, I grew up in a neighborhood with a hermaphrodite, which is what, I don't know if they still call them hermaphrodites anymore. I don't even know what they call them anymore.
I don't either. You don't hear the term anymore.
You don't hear it anymore.
It's
ever.
inaccurate.
Oh, is it
There is no such thing as a true hermaphrodite in humans.
Oh, really?
Not a real thing.
So it's an animal deal?
Yeah. Hermaphrodites are both male and female simultaneously.
So yeah, that it is pretty tough to pull off.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
Yeah, confusing. So, but why people thought that it would upset me that my male friend was going to become a woman, I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, I read the book on Christine Jorgensen. I don't know. Christ, I might have been 10,
Did
11
she go to
years old.
Sweden to
I think it was Sweden. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
she went to Sweden to get it.
become
Or
altered? Yeah.
he went to Sweden and came back a woman.
Yeah.
But why people think that other people will get so upset? I suppose some people, dumbasses, do get upset by that.
Oh,
But
parents.
yeah, parents. But yeah, that'd
Imagine
be a different
that.
deal. But I loved Andy the second he came out of the womb. So if he wanted to become a woman, I would still love him. He's the same being.
Yeah.
He never did, but if he did, I'd still love him as much as I do anyway. I just think most people think that other people are stupid. Therefore, Tom's stupid
Why do you think that is?
because way to pull that on me, Gal fan. You throw me under the bus. But I never did understand why they thought I would be upset by that. It's like, it's none of my business. First of all, I like the person, not because it's a guy becoming a woman or a woman becoming a guy. Whatever. I like the person. So who gives a rat's ass?
Well, so let's say you watch the debate tonight and then you see the reaction to it.
Yeah.
How could you not conclude that this is a country of assholes and idiots?
No question about it. I think those debates make the American citizen look like a moron because they overreact to everything.
Yeah.
Look, Biden's going to be Biden. Trump's going to be Trump. It's going to be a goddamn disaster. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But who cares? I'm not going to watch it anyway. I don't care about debates. Doesn't matter to me.
I don't know who gets through that stuff.
I don't either. And I still, as I said earlier, because the Kennedy family was involved in the mafia, I have not liked the president since I was 9 years old. They all got their own scam going. They got their own, they're going to try to pull something off.
And these debates they're never really about philosophy, insight, nothing, none of those things. I mean, when Kennedy debated Nixon, for example, was it Kennedy Nixon? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I know, probably Andy knows from reading books or just going online. We all know why Nixon was considered to be the loser, right? And it was because he had a 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. We haven't had a president with facial hair in, I don't know. I think it's been 100 years.
Oh, I would think so. Yeah, I would think so. Absolutely.
Let's see. Most recent president with facial hair.
Including a mustache, by the way, I think.
I can't think of any.
I can't either.
Not in our lifetime.
Not in my
Taft
lifetime.
was the last president to have facial hair.
And that's just because he couldn't reach his cheeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he weighed about 4 bills.
And
by the time he finished shaving, the other half had grown back.
Probably. Honest to God, I guess they had to put a separate tub in the White House for him because he didn't fit in the tub.
I think the we always hear that, he got stuck in the bathtub.
Yes, right.
I don't think that's true.
I don't think it is either. I just think he couldn't get in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they always have to make up some stuff.
Sure, it's got to be better. Yeah.
God, there was something that just came up along those lines. And I said, there is no way that's true. And it turns out it wasn't true. They make things up about everything that happens in life. Oh, this is what they did. It's like, no, they didn't.
I love hearing the other day when, and it's just part of the hyperbole of dialogue, but you never could have heard it until very recently. So Trump says, no president has ever been treated worse than me. Well, 4 of them got assassinated.
Yeah, that's pretty bad treatment.
So
there are fates worse than death.
That's right. That's what the Attorney General, the Attorney General of Texas said when he said that they were going to sacrifice all the old people to COVID.
Yeah.
Because he said there are worse things than death.
What would that be?
So go ahead and die. Yeah. In some cases, living.
Yeah, well, I
can think of a lot of.
I suppose you're right.
I watched my dad go through 8 years of dementia. So I would say
that's got to be up there, probably top 10.
God, that's got to be tough.
Yeah, last few years, yeah. Well, I told this story the other day to Bob when I was on his show, and this probably is a good way to wrap me up anyway. So my dad, this is probably about a year or less before he died. And he was barely coherent. And I knew that the time was coming pretty soon when he would just probably stop eating, or he'd fall a few times and, something would happen. And I always had an audio recorder. I recorded my conversations with him. And so I have it all at home. And I was listening to it the other day, but what happened was my dad, of course, he'd vowed that he would hate me till his dying day because I took away his driver's license. And his whole life was built around me taking away his driver's license.
Yeah. Oh, really?
He went through 4 lawyers, 4 doctors, all of them because he wanted someone who would get him his driver's license back. So anyway, I'm talking to my dad and I'm thinking, I got to find out some things, but this is probably my last chance. So I said to him, you know, Dad, I know you were a member of that greatest generation. I know you guys, you couldn't, when you were in the Army, you had to follow directions. You could
Mhm.
never admit weakness. I get that. But I'm just wondering, did you ever do anything at all, anything that you regret now? And I thought, like, for me, I'm thinking, well, you did force my brother to have electroshock. So
Yeah.
that may have been something.
Yeah.
So he's pondering this. A guy who's losing everything, a guy who is going around saying, I lost some things, I got to find them, but I don't know what I lost.
Oh God.
So I figured this is a time, you know, maybe when I'll get something out of him that's really true and important. So I said, yeah, I said, can you think of anything at all that you regret now? And it was a pause. And then he said, there is one thing. I said, yeah. Well, what was it? And he said, I trusted you.
Oh God, that was not painful at all, was it?
Well, it's just the fact that he's like, he has no cognitive abilities at all.
Right.
And he still burns me.
There you go.
So I was sort of proud of him in one sense.
Yeah, you know, he's still going after you.
Yeah. And you know, so it was it was 50-50. One, I was proud of him. The other one was I wanted to push him down the stairs.
And which one did you do?
Neither.
That's good. Good move. Because pride would have been fine, but pushing him downstairs would not. Then that's just how.
What movie was that? Mommy Dearest? With the pushing the old lady down the stairs in the wheelchair?
Oh,
Was it? Mommy Dearest was the one that there are no
wire hangers ever. Yep.
Yeah, no
Wasn't
wire
that-
hangers ever.
wasn't that based on a woman's relationship
I
with
think
Joan
so.
Crawford?
I believe so, yeah. I think that's right.
Yeah, she was the ultimate mother, huh? The Hollywood mother.
The Hollywood mother.
Yeah.
I was thinking of a movie called Kiss of Death,
Kiss of Death.
Kiss
I
of
don't know
Death.
that one.
1947.
You know, I do love those movies during like after World War II. They made some great movies, no doubt about it. Great actors. Too.
Yeah, and you were still in that you know that period, black and white movies,
Mm-hmm.
and you know they were all about insidious crimes, and noir movies is what they
Yeah,
were.
yeah.
Yeah, I watch one of those at least once a month. I got to go back.
I love that stuff.
Yeah.
There's no question. I have to get over something too, and you guys are going to have to help me with this one. Because Catherine goes, why don't we watch Endeavor? Let's watch Endeavor. I said, okay, what channel is it on? There are no channels. Why am I still calling it a channel? It's not a channel. So what could I use instead of channel? What site?
Platform?
Yeah,
Platform,
is
I
probably
guess,
what
yeah.
I would say.
What platform is it on? Is it on Netflix? Is it on Hulu? Is it on Prime? What's it on?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's like 10 different platforms alone that start with P.
There's a lot of them. Yeah, you're right.
They
about
must
that.
have done some studies to find out that P is a very powerful
I
powerful
suppose.
letter.
Yeah, I guess it
It's
is.
plosive, so there's that.
Yeah, think about that. We got 2 minutes left. Any way you want to wrap it up? Any comments? Or should we just go home?
Yeah, I think we covered so much.
Well, but that's what I like about these Thursday shows, because we cover a lot of different topics from different angles and all the rest of it. Nobody gets in an argument and starts yelling at each other and all that bullshit. I mean, it's just not necessary.
No.
So if it's not a good example of being tolerant, which we need to be a lot more tolerant, folks.
Be more tolerant or I'm going to kill you.
Or I'm going to kill you. That's exactly right. All right, that is going to do it. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Every time I hear the same, reminds me how you talking my